Hello sailors, this is the Dodgy Kebab and you're watching a review video about the Wrath of the Lich King Instant 80 private World of Warcraft server, Wrath of the Lich King Raids. So this server is called WOTLK Raids, or Wrath of the Lich King Raids if you will. The idea behind this server is pretty simple. Do you want to play heroic dungeons? Do you want to play Wrath of the Lich King Raids? Do you want to do nothing but those two things? Are you sure you don't want to level a character in the slightest? This server is aimed at you if you are thinking all of this. I suppose these are not unreasonable things to think of. Other people have been thinking about things that are a lot more controversial.
Sometimes I think when I'm having sex, sometimes I think of Mark Kern.
One of the things that led me to try this server out was the promise on the website that there was no pay to win on this server at all. So I thought, okay, let me in to try this out. Upon logging in, I found that this realm was called DreamWorks. Obviously, an oversized vendor is literally the first thing you see once you begin. But wait, what is that in the distance? Are you fucking kidding me? What on earth happened to no pay to win feature advertised on the website? Because right here is a fucking vendor straight up selling pay to... Oh, hold on. It says play to win. Now, the great benefit of the sheer amount of procrastination that I do creating the review videos means that I can show you how this one NPC has changed a great deal. When I began the recording sessions of this realm, there was no pay to win, and donation points would just buy you the regular vanity items. But much more recently, a small smattering of item level 226 weapons, shields and offhands have been added to this vendor to be purchased with donation points, as well as the no pay to win text has been scrubbed off from the front of the website. In the interests of being fair and balanced, it's worth noting that a full tier 7 gear and weapon set is now available for free to all players from a different vendor in the starting area, something that wasn't there when I began recording. Anyway, so the rest of the starting area is filled up with portals to fast travel you around, a mount and riding trainer barn, an NPC that acts as an inn, an outdoor bar complete with auction house NPCs, a staple for custom realms, and that's a row of class trainers, PvP organizer NPCs, a transmog NPC, a starter gear NPC giving away gems, enchants and glyphs, daily quest and reputation NPCs, free of charge flasks, foods and potions. So that's all great stuff. Plus, unlike other instant max level realms you've seen me on, the layout of these custom NPCs is quite easy to grasp. It doesn't look like a programmer jizzed into the database, randomly spreading his content around with little to no thought about it. There is a few more points I want to cover before I get into the real meat of the server, which is obviously heroic dungeons and raiding. We just talked about the play to win vendor. He's called play to win because you can buy various items from him for emblems of valor. As you probably know, these are awarded for finishing dungeons, but you also get them here just for being logged on. Every 2 hours, these are awarded to you no matter what you're doing. In my case, I actually was testing out profession crafts and had my first lot awarded to me while I was doing that. Skilling up your crafting is quite fast here, as you can see on the screen now. The XP increases are far higher than normal, so getting a craft up to level 450 shouldn't be too hard to do. I got cooking, blacksmithing and mining up to level 200 in well under an hour. The population right now is very small. I'm talking 20 to 50 people online depending on which day of the week it is. But because cross-faction grouping is enabled and everyone is pretty much doing the same thing, I found it very easy to get into a group at any time. Remember, I roll a tank class, so that helps a lot. But everyone is in the same guild. Everyone just wants to do dungeons, and when a raid is going on, everybody is told about it and invited. Plus, if there's not enough for a full 10 or 25 man raid, this server features raid scaling. but more on that later. There is another thing that helps keep everyone in the loop of what is going on in game, and that's the Discord on this realm. As everyone is in the same guild, the guild chat is relayed in real time via a chat room in their Discord. As you can see here, it works very well, and if you're not logged into the game, you can still see if people are planning a raid or looking for a certain class of person to join a group. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Well, I know what most of you are thinking. Some people are having some very unusual thoughts. Aside from those more left field thoughts, most of you probably want to know about the actual dungeon quality here, so let's get on with that. So because when you start you're given better gear than Charlie Sheen, you can begin running heroic dungeons right from the word go. So that's what I did. I first was up in Gundrak on heroic mode. I found out quickly that bosses worked correctly, and I'd forgotten a lot of the tactics, like hiding behind the wall on the first boss during his poison ability. So my first attempt was a wipe because I'm the tank and I cocked up. After that though, we fought through the dungeon with the healer reminding me of the basic tactics before each boss. Although after Sled Ran, the memories of actually how to do the dungeon did come back to me. That's the problem with jumping between each expansion from vanilla to Pandaria. It's a lot of dungeon and raid tactics to remember, and every so often I do have a brain fart and realise I can't for the life of me remember the tactics until I've already pulled. Even though I have DBM running, it says on the screen that the boss is casting Poison Nova, and I'm like, shit! What am I meant to be doing again? It looks quite bad sometimes. I turn up at these servers, people already know who I am and they've been looking for a tank and they think finally a tank is available and it's Dodgy Kebab, so we'll smash this dungeon. And then I fucking wipe on the first boss. Then the comments and the videos would be like,
nice binds, Omega lol.
I have enough of a job trying to remember the tactics for all the dungeons and raids for 5 different versions of Warcraft. If you think I'm going to add 5 different keybind layouts to that as well, you can fuck off. Anyway, Gundrak was fine. I was surprised to see the mechanics working to this degree, considering how small the server is. We completed the dungeon with no issues, and after, I handed in the Gundrak dungeon daily quest to the custom NPCs in the starting area that they offer you. The next dungeon did have issues though. It was Azul Narub, and it began fine. We took down the packs of mobs and beat the first boss. It was the second boss, Hadronox, that was bugged. There was a member of the party that had the combat res bug, but that was nothing compared to what we had to deal with after. The scripted event before the boss where the spider monsters keep coming into the room and a fight breaks out between the mobs while you were just sitting there on the other side of the room on the ramp, that event just kept looping over and over. We had issues of half the party being death gripped towards the boss even though we were just waiting on the ramp. Then the boss would fight you, but the script event would loop over again and you'd have a shit ton of mobs and you just couldn't help but get overwhelmed by them. The party agreed that the dungeon was bugged too badly for us to try and continue, so we blew it off. The next dungeon I tried was Utgard Pinnacle, and this worked without a hitch. I didn't forget any of the tactics to this one, and we smashed through it without a single issue to speak of. All the scripting with the Lich King RP was in place, as well as the final boss going through his different power-ups at the end. All worked great, and we got some decent loot at the end of it. So that's the dungeons I played. Now, you're all wondering about the raiding. Well, one person is thinking about something else.
My mind's telling me no, but my body's telling me yeah.
So raiding here can be done normally, or you can scale the raids to the party size. A 10-man raid can be done with between 7 to 10 people. If you pick less than 10 people, the enemy hit points are scaled down. You can't have less than 7 people though, it won't scale below that. The same principle applies to 25-man raid. It can be done with a minimum of 17 players. But my first raid was a full 10-man Onyxia raid. All the phases worked as they should, and ads spawned at the correct times, and the phases seemed to last the correct amount of time. I had a good time on this one, even though I was the off tank for the raid. We beat the encounter and some good loot dropped, but I thought I'd better not roll on any of it. It seemed unfair to take gear away from some other people when I wouldn't be on the server for any decent amount of time. The next raid I got an invite to was Uldar, and it was a mid-raid invite, so I got to see a chunk of the content but not all of it. It seemed to work quite well. Some abilities on bosses didn't seem to be active, so it felt easier than it should have been. There were some issues with mob pathing that you can quite easily see here, but the big one was the garden boss called Freya. She just kept resetting her health back to full every 10 seconds, making it impossible to actually kill her. You could say that was quite a large bug. So across the dungeons and raids, most of it's good, some of it's a bit iffy, and a few parts are outright unplayable. One more topic to bring up before the final conclusion, and that's the server hack protection. So place your bets now. It's an instant max level custom server ran by one guy. What do you think the hack protection is gonna be like?
Place your bets now! Come on, quick! Bet! Betting ends!
In an unbelievable turn of events, the hack protection actually works. If you try speedrunning, you'll get a disconnect. If you try fly hacking, you'll get a disconnect. If you try the infinite jump hack, you'll get a disconnect. After 3 disconnects, boom, account ban. So, who's this server for? If you want to play Wrath the Lich King endgame content right now and play on a server that has very little in the way of pay to win, and then so long as you can put up with a few bugs, you might enjoy it here. Personally, it's not my thing. I like character progression, and I never felt any real attachment to my character here. It's all about Wrath the Lich King endgame gameplay, and I think that's just part of the Warcraft experience. But many would disagree with me. Many people think Warcraft is all about the endgame, and if you are one of those deluded fools, then you might find enjoyment in this server. Right, that's your lot, off you go.
If you have enjoyed the video, you can like it if you like, and subscribe too. If you subscribe, I promise we will make more videos. If you haven't enjoyed it, downvote the shit out of it, and remember, my name is the Dodgy Kebab.